Hey, this is James Roten with Need Computer Help. Today we're going to talk about our C3 software package that a number of our propane wholesale and retail customers use. And we're going to talk about one specific support area that can come up from time to time, and that is downloading OPIS prices. And that's OPIS, O-P-I-S. OPIS, just to give a quick summary, is a pricing source that publishes pricing, particularly in propane and similar industries, and the pricing is published by day, by location. One of the great features of our software is that every afternoon when OPIS is published about 5 p.m., our software goes out through an FTP connection that runs as a service on the server and downloads OPIS pricing for our customers automatically. Unfortunately, time to time there's a problem with that, and we have to go through and troubleshoot that problem. So today we're going to talk a little bit about it. First off, I'm on a customer server right now, and we're going to look at this. This is a service that runs. The service should be set up as automatic. It should be running, obviously, and then once it is running, it's set up with a timer where at about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, it starts polling the FTP server on an interval, let's say a 5-minute interval, to look for today's file. When it polls the server for that file is downloaded into a folder. And so we're looking at a folder here on this particular server that lists all of the files. I went ahead and opened up one of the files, and as you can see, it's a comma delimited file that basically shows pricing by location. So this is an insert price, for example. This would be a very common price that our customers would look at. It's an insert price versus an update or a delete for Mont Belvieu TET propane on March 23rd, 2017. High, low, and average prices. And I don't remember what the D stands for in this file, but I don't think we actually even use that field. So this file is downloaded once a day. Coming back to the folder, as you can see here, there is one file for each day. Pricing is not published on Saturdays or Sundays, and not published on holidays either. So the software kind of regulates all of that. The service is a .NET service. One of the things that it does is as it runs, it keeps a log file. And jumping around a little bit here, but this particular server is installed in C, VSI apps, C3 pricing interface, and this is essentially everything that the service needs to run. It's pretty simple, but the C3 pricing interface.txt file is a log file. So if we get an error, there will be an error in that log file. When that log file gets to a certain size, it renames it .old, so you have two files in the folder at any given time. Come in here, and it's just kind of logging here where the service stopped and started based on the times that happened. Obviously we have no errors today, so there's nothing recorded in this log file. Over here we have the config file for the service. I've deleted the server and database names from the config file temporarily just while showing this in a video. We have some email addresses that responses can be sent to in case of an error. We have a start hour, which is 17 or 5 o'clock, and a stop hour, which is 21. So these are the hours of the day that it polls it. This is the FTP site. I have blanked out the user ID and password, but there would normally be a value here. This is a couple of fields that help with the format of the file name. OPIS changes it from subscription to subscription, so this helps with that. And then basically when the service runs and finds the file, it's going to download it into .opis files. Okay, and then it has a batch job name which gets into some C3 tracking called pricing interface auto _ opis. In the event that we have a situation where the server does not download a file on a given day for some reason, whatever it may be, the service isn't running, and we need to go back and run a previous day, we can actually stop the service. We can put in an override file date in this field, start the service, let it run, and then once it's running, it will go download that previous day's file. So that's kind of a somewhat common support issue that can come up. Timer interval is set to 600,000. That's in milliseconds, so that would be 600 seconds or 10 minutes, and that's how often the service will poll the FTP site to see if the file is there. Any of that can be changed or altered as needed. So I've shown you the config file, I've shown you the error file, I've shown you the actual file. Now let's go into SQL. Okay, when this comes into SQL, it is saved into two tables, and the first of those tables is OPIS upload, and let me get one that has that's entertaining. Well, why am I not getting a field there? I'll just go and scroll this all the way down. Oh, because the dates have times in them, so that's why this did not work. Hope you're entertained watching this now. Okay, so you can see the most recent one that was downloaded at 5:01 p.m. on 3/23/2017. This would be OPIS upload ID 1252. Okay, and then better put a filter on that. Here you can see the actual data. So you remember we saw the CSV file earlier here. This is where we've taken that data and parsed it into the application itself. This is just a raw raw table with the actual data in the file, and we do that to track it. From here it gets transitioned into the market table where the price is actually saved and used throughout the system. So I'm not going to go into that in this video, but if you're having an issue with this, you should be able to trace it from looking in that config file, looking in that error file, as well as looking in the table to see if the job ran on that day and then did it indeed download some data on that day. Once you get to this point, we would get into a subsequent support issue if the customer was not seeing the data in the market pricing module in the application. But hopefully this helps when we have a support issue come in on missing pricing data.